Welcome back to this week's speaking tip. Today I'm talking about a descriptive sequence when you're trying to describe things in your speeches. This is one of the things that I run into with people I coach all the time. The concept is clear in their mind, but the sequence that they're laying the story out to be laid into the mind of the audience is inverted or out of sequence. And what I found is if we say the sequence in the right way, the story or the description we're trying to give the audience goes into their mind very clearly. What I don't want to do is when I'm talking is lay a certain sequence in and then have to have the audience go back in that sequence to alter what they saw in their mind. Now, let me give you an example of this. If I said, I took a trip to Niagara Falls, you're looking at me right now thinking, I just took a trip to Niagara Falls. And then I said, I was with my parents. Okay, that I took a trip with my parents to Niagara Falls. So my trip to Niagara Falls went in my mind. Now I have to add into that with my parents when I was 7. So now I took a trip to Niagara Falls with my parents when I was 7. We're actually going backwards in the sequence. Instead of when I was 7, my parents took me on a trip to Niagara Falls. Now we have a very clear sequence that laid into the mind in the order of importance that they can understand where I was, when I was, what was happening. They don't have to backtrack and rearrange the image they have in their mind. Another example was, I got fired from my job. Okay, got fired from my job. When I was 25 years old, I was working as a night manager at Holiday Inn. Well, I'm not 25 right now, and I don't work as a night manager at Holiday Inn. So when I say I got fired from my job, the audience gets a specific image right then of I got fired from my job. And then I say after that piece of information I gave them, I give them information that they have to go back in front of that and alter what that image is. Now, let's just say that I got fired from my job. I was 25 years old and I was working as a night manager at a Holiday Inn, and such and such and such and such happened, and the manager fired me. Okay, now let's say it in another sequence. Okay, when I was 25 years old, I was working as a night manager at a Holiday Inn. Such and such and such and such happened, which resulted in the manager calling me in his office and firing me. Now that laid in so that as the audience is going on, they're building on the story rather than having to backtrack and change the images they have in their mind. We can even take that specific one a little further to give the audience a crystal clear idea of when and where and what's happening. When I was 25 years old, I was working as a night manager in a Holiday Inn in Peoria, Illinois. Now we have a crystal clear image of where this is taking place. So I am oriented as the audience on what's taking place with you, where this happened. There's nothing I'm trying to fill in because you didn't give it to me. Such and such and such and such happened, resulted in me getting called into my manager's office, and that night he let me go and I was fired from my first job. Okay, so in a lot of the speech coaching I do, I get these speeches and I look at the fact that a lot of times in one line, the speaker has said something out of sequence, and if you just reverse the sequence, it comes across crystal clear to the audience. But many times in the entire speech, they have a sequence out in the speech. I covered this a little bit in storytelling, that you start with the when, the where, the who, the what, and the conflict. You need to orient. But throughout that entire speech, a lot of times people will introduce you to an unnamed person, and then a third of the way through the speech, give you the name of the person later on. Or they'll talk about an incident that's going on, and then, again, 2 minutes later in the speech, they'll tell you where the incident took place. That needs to go right up front. So I know where it was, who the person is, the description, so that as I build on that, in the mind of the audience, and here's the key thing I always look at, in the mind of the audience, I never want to have them to go backwards and fill in a data point that now augments my story. I want the points laid in so that everyone builds on the next one. And at no point do they have to go backwards and change something in their mind. And I've seen a lot of speakers try to do this and they think they're being clever. They think that they're creating a mystery and they're going to fill it in. It's going to be a surprise to you. There's nothing wrong with a mystery. There's nothing wrong with a surprise. Said this one before in another speaking tip. There is something wrong with a confusion. And most of these wind up in a confusion versus winding up in a mystery or a surprise. So make sure you don't confuse your audience. Give them a mystery, a surprise. But the big thing is make sure that you say your things, say your descriptive phrases in sequence so that each phrase you state builds on the next one and the audience gets a clear picture in their mind on what you're trying to say. Over to you.